Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Joe and Cody. My name is Joe Skipper, owner of Skipper Realty Group, brokered by eXp Realty out of Oregon. I'm with my friend, as always, Cody Wilhelm with Residential Mortgage. What's going on, my man?
How are you?
Oh, good. We had an election
Yep.
this week. So,
Yep.
yeah, just wanted to kind of not to get into politics, but kind of talk residential real estate or real estate in general and lending in
Yeah.
general and kind of go into our thoughts of what could or what we think or, just thoughts on what may happen based on how the election went. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
So
So, like,
from
so
the mortgage side, I can tell you that so far today we've seen stock market's gone up quite a bit.
yeah,
Interest rates have continued. Mortgage interest rates have continued to go up, and I haven't seen anything yet that points to necessarily a clear cut direction.
yeah,
But we have seen the mortgage interest rates continue to go up, and that hasn't been anything necessarily election based. They've gone up a little bit more today, but they've been going up the last month, so it's kind of still trending in that same direction. The Fed has their meeting for a couple days, and it's expected that they're going to drop rates by 1/4%. So we'll see if there's any movement from the mortgage side of that,
yeah, because
or
that meant
if the
nothing last time.
no. If anything,
Everyone was super pumped about it, and it was like, nope, it went the opposite route.
yeah. So I think what could potentially happen is just over the course of the next, few months, maybe first quarter, second quarter, we could start to see them improve and
Yeah,
start to go in a better direction again. But as the short term right now, we're still seeing things where they were at back in we're kind of like in line with where things were at in about July. So
really. Okay.
we had a good dip through September, like early October, and then essentially when the Fed said that they were going to lower rates, the mortgage rates just started going right back up. So nothing that's changed too much there so far, but I could see there being, I feel like the last handful of years, I'm always feeling like, all right, probably 3-6 more months, and we should start to see a
I've been
change.
saying that for years now.
Yeah.
It feels like
Now I'm like, I still am believing it when I'm saying it out loud. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure we're probably,
yeah,
after the new year, everybody gets excited again. But
for sure. I
I
can
think
relate
that
it to
there's
being a Beaver fan, like it's always like
it's next year,
a positivity. It's always
right?
a rebuilding year. It's always something like, hey, this could be
Yeah,
it. Like,
and
and I think that's
sometimes
what we've
all
been
it
doing with
takes,
the mortgage rates is like, this could be it. Like one more meeting, and then we're gonna
yeah,
be in a good place.
right, yeah, man. I really thought a month ago, or maybe it's been a little bit over a month ago now, where it was like, I think we finally have made it.
Yeah,
We've set this new kind of benchmark of where we're sitting at, and it should only get better from here. And
I remember you
there was
saying
an
that.
improvement.
Yeah,
There was an improvement just in overall activity, and I think word starts to get
yep,
out that rates have gone down, and then or that they're going down, and then that's always the hard part. From our side of it too, is like once it's all out in the news, and then the rates start going up, and you're like, well,
yeah,
yeah, they did go down, but now they're
yeah,
up higher than than where they were by the time you heard that they were going down,
for
and
sure.
none of it makes sense. But
Yeah, it's interesting because it's not unique to you guessing anything. Everyone was
yeah,
thinking that this was going to happen. It wasn't like, Cody was the only guy that was saying
right,
this is going to
yeah,
happen. All of us were like that. And it did for a short period of time for the buying and selling process. It did pick up.
yeah,
People I think were like, okay, this is happening. And
uh
then
huh,
it dropped off again.
yeah,
So yeah, it'll be interesting. But you've said this before, like when generally the opposite with rates occurs is when the economy is good, the rates go
hmm,
up. Like people think economy is good, rates go down. It's like the exact opposite. So when the economy's bad, the rates go down, right?
right,
Like generally
yes,
speaking. Like
yeah,
so yeah, it'll be interesting from that standpoint of what people will view this election result
hmm,
not only nationally but locally, like in Oregon or Washington where you're at, to see are people going to feel stable or
hmm,
or are we going to be in this. So it's an interesting, I don't think we can make any crazy predictions, but my hope is that at least you know that now that it's over, it's in the past, it's put behind us, that we can kind of
yeah,
see for the next four years or foreseeable future what we're gonna see, you know,
Yeah,
and see what buyers and sellers do to react to that, and what the economy does to react to that, with it, which then in turn affects everyone. So
sure.
it's gonna be a weird ride. I kind of, you know, no matter your political affiliation, I think the fact that at least nationally, it seemed clear what was going on. There was no like, there's no battles in Portland, and there's no
Right.
battles and riots and things like that so far, knock on wood, that
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that we at least, like, as a country and as a state and as whatever, just like,
Yeah.
you know,
Kind of just
I guess move on, move forward. Like, you
right.
know, and that's
It
what I'm
is what it
thinking from a
is,
buying and
and
selling standpoint. Yeah.
yeah,
That people will say, okay, that was all kind of crazy. The election's always crazy.
right.
And maybe they were holding off to see who was going to be elected, and to see what, you know, what their future holds. So
Sure.
anyways, yeah, it's gonna be an interesting next few months to see
Yeah. Yeah.
what our world looks like, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The only thing that I could see potentially is if the Fed starts, um, they were investing so much into the bond market, which is
Yeah,
what kept mortgage rates so low during the COVID time. That's one thing that I could see potentially happening is maybe not even. And I don't know enough of this to be like. I'm glad nobody listens to this because I don't want to be.
I take your advice, so like
Yeah,
that counts for something.
right. But I think that there is that potential for them to kind of put it in their own hands and say, all right,
Yeah,
this how the cost of housing, it something has to change, and here's one thing that we can do, and just to kind of like even artificially bring the rates down for the mortgage side, just because I think that really will help housing in general, right? Obviously, it makes it cheaper to be able to purchase it. And I think that more people that are purchasing is going to put so much less stress on the renting side, which will then hopefully start to bring rent prices down
yeah,
because there's not such a demand. So, I mean, I think obviously it's great for anybody that's in the business, but I think it's even better for the people that are actually needing and wanting to move and trying to bring down that cost of housing, because it's just, especially here in the Northwest, it is really, really expensive um, to find anything. I mean, you're looking
mhm.
at apartments that are a 2-bedroom apartment that you spend $2,500 a month, and it doesn't feel like that long ago. That was a
That was a good mortgage.
solid mortgage payment
Yeah,
on a good house. It was like
yep,
25. All right, we're doing pretty
for
well here, and
for
now
sure.
it's like just to have a place to live. So I think there's so much pressure on the housing market, whether it's purchasing or renting, that something's got to give. So
Yeah.
hopefully we start to see that here in the near future, because it's just, I mean, you see it starting to take its toll more and more on people. So
For sure. It's such a unique time to be in the housing market, because it's not it's the demand is still there. Even though rates are
yeah,
hard, demand's still there. So everyone's in this stagnant kind of relationship as a seller and a buyer, of sellers are still like, well, I can still get this high price if rates went down. Everyone's
right,
kind of like, always trying to just do these quick predictions or these short-term predictions. And it's very difficult to convince, not to convince, but to articulate to sellers and buyers, like, that if it's your time, it's your time. Like, we
yeah,
cannot sit here and think like, oh, there's a Fed meeting coming up, and that's going to
right,
mean that my rate's going to go down, because we obviously have seen that that was not the case last meeting. So,
yeah,
um, yeah, it's an interesting time, because there is no indication of anything. There's indication of things slowing down and prices stabilizing, but there's
uh
not a
huh,
ton of prices that are just tanking. I think that the homes that you see that do tank in price are the homes that were priced too high, like that weren't,
sure,
they weren't priced properly at the beginning. Because the
yeah,
homes that still are priced right go fairly quickly. It's just like, this whole environment's just been an interesting one to be living in, because there isn't anything. Everyone kind of is sitting on the edge. I picture it as like people are on the bench and one person jumps in. You just are
right,
waiting for, like, one person's like, I'm just going for it, and the rest
yeah,
are like, should I like,
yeah.
should I
Oh, you
follow
seem
him or
okay.
no?
Maybe I'll
Like,
do
and,
that.
and so it's just an
Yeah.
interesting time to be in. But
Well, I think that just getting past the election
mhm,
is going to be good, and it's going to help people that were maybe a little more on the
for sure,
fence of like, I'm going to wait just to kind of see how this settles out, and maybe kind of
absolutely,
give me a little bit more of an indication on what I could expect. So I think for anybody that has been waiting for that, it does maybe paint a clearer picture for them on at least that's no longer one of those like, I'm going to wait and just see.
yeah,
And because you have that, and then you have the holidays, which obviously that's a time where nobody wants to move during the
Yeah.
the
Yep.
the bad weather and also the holiday season. So it's like I think it really does set up for next year to have less questions maybe
Yeah.
for people that are trying to figure out, is it the right time for me? Because only obviously, you are the only person that knows if it's the right time for you. But I think that the less obstacles that are in your way to go, all right, we've been overpaying rent for this long, or we need to get a bigger house, or whatever it might be.
For
Like,
sure.
less obstacles, at least I think for a lot of people, it just makes it feel like, all right, now we just need to figure out if we can afford this,
Yep.
and what does it look like. So I think
Yeah,
that's
I
good,
think
because
that'll
it's
be
been a big build up to this point. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people that are in that camp of like, I'm gonna keep holding off for just a little bit longer, just to
for
see
sure.
what happens, and then maybe next spring I'll be ready to kind of start looking again. And so
Yeah, because the political divide brings a lot of insecurity, like, to people's
yeah,
jobs, and so I do think people were thinking, okay, well, if X is president, then I can do this, or if X isn't
right,
president, I can't do this. So I do think there will bring some sort of at least answers to people that'll be like, okay, I can move forward, or I can't because this
yeah,
new person was voted in. So,
yeah,
um, yeah, it'll be telling in the next few weeks kind of what happens with that. And it's also, but what adds to that is what you said is like we're going into the holiday season, which generally is a slower season anyway. So
yeah,
is it indicative if we see slowness that it's because of the election, or because of rates, or because of XYZ, or is
sure,
this just indicative of a normal slow market during Thanksgiving, Christmas, and holidays?
right,
So yeah,
yeah.
it's January. I'm looking forward to January because
Oh,
I'm hopeful as a Beaver fan and as
uh-huh.
a real estate agent that January brings some stability, or brings some sort of answers, like you said, to
Yeah,
something. Are we in a rebuilding season, like, or
right,
are we just going to push forward and dominate the
yeah,
season next year? So
yeah, right.
yeah, crazy times. But
The conference is what is that going to be, 2026? Is
I
that
don't
when the
even know.
new?
Everyone
I think
asks
that's
me
what I
this stuff,
saw.
and I think people that don't follow the Beavers follow it more than me, because I think that I kind of had to take a step back. I got too worked up, and I was like,
Uh-huh.
just it is what it is. And for
Yeah.
me to act as if the Beavers should be top 5 ranked like Oregon, like it just
Mhm.
isn't there. And I think that Beaver fans are notorious for, like, when we have a 10-win season, that we're like, we're going for the championship next year, and if we
Yeah.
don't, that's it. Like,
Uh-huh.
and it's like, guys, you don't understand. Like, I've been through the Beavers a lot. Like, I've been
Uh-huh.
through like their seasons a lot, and I understand these building years. It's more building
Sure.
years than there are successful
Oh
years.
man.
Like,
Well, and it happens so quick too. It's like you
yes,
have a good season, and now
that was
that becomes
shocking,
your standard. And
for
anything
sure. That
below
was
that
shocking,
is like, what are we doing? What's going
for sure.
on? And you see it like, I mean, shoot, you look at Florida State this
Yeah,
year. They were
yeah,
a top 10 team. I mean,
I
they
know,
were projected to be there, and they've won one game. And I can
for
only
sure.
imagine, I'm sure at this point the fan base is like, all right, well,
Yeah,
obviously we're not going anywhere. But it's like there's that standard, and then once it's below
yeah.
that,
Once
it's
it's
like,
gone,
all right,
there,
do we blow it all up, or do we try one more year with this
for
whole
sure.
setup? And
And if you've got a team that's like, like in Oregon, you have a ability to do that. I
yeah,
think that we kind of put ourselves in a higher echelon after a year of good play. Like, then we're like,
sure,
we're there. It's like, no, you're not. Like, we
yeah,
were, but it doesn't mean
right,
that that is the case. Like, we have a lot of things
yeah,
to battle against. So, anyways, I don't really follow. I follow the Beavers and I cheer for them, but as to the inner workings of what's going to happen with the Pac-12 or the Pac-2
yeah,
or whatever it's going to be, I'm just
yeah,
like, it'll be what it is. But
right.
yeah, it's just like the real
You'll
estate
see once
industry.
it's on the
It'll be
schedule.
what
You'll
it
be like,
is.
oh,
Like,
okay, these are different teams.
it'll be what it is in real estate as well. So I
Yep.
can't
Oh
can't
yeah.
get worked up about it. But there is a Margot
Absolutely.
update. My dog,
Oh yeah.
she's getting bigger. She's doing well,
Okay.
but still in the puppy stage. We did get, I think, 7 hours of sleep last night. So she
Hey,
went in the crate 7 hours straight.
there you
No big
go.
deal. So we're making baby steps. Not to use that pun, but
Is
um,
she like a chewer? Does she chew on things, or is
no, and that's
she
what's kinda cool is that,
okay? That's
I've
been
been
good.
super paranoid about putting, I don't put towels in her crate and things like that, because it's just like I don't,
Yeah.
I don't want her choking on anything or but I did find this Kong-like bed, not that anyone cares or we're the only ones watching this anyway, but not, this
Are
Kong
you
bed that's
sponsored
like
by them?
that's
Is this a
basically this
pitch?
durable bed, yes. I would love it because she has to upgrade to a bigger crate in about a month, so,
Oh man.
um, so yeah, so I put her in that last night and she was out. like a light. So,
Really?
so yeah, and didn't chew it up or anything like that. It says it's
Hey,
kind of,
that's great.
so yeah. So anyways, that's
Oh
the
man.
Margot update. I'll have to, oh, I forgot to bring her in. I think I was racing around this morning. I got to
Yeah.
bring her in at some point
Next
and
week.
have her part
Yeah.
of the meeting.
Bring her
Yeah,
in.
next
We
week
need.
we might have some answers. We may not, and then we'll just talk about Margot.
Yeah.
If there's
I'd
nothing.
love to see
So,
her with some headphones on and a
oh
little
yeah.
dog microphone.
That would be awesome.
It
We'd probably
would.
get more views, that's for sure.
We
So,
probably would. Yeah. We're
more
just going to
people
start
pay
bringing in
attention.
different props that
Exactly.
entice
That'll
people.
get people to wanna pay attention to us. So, okay, man. Well, that's it for
Okay.
me. And yeah, well, I guess we'll just chat with you next week.
Yeah, we'll see if there's any movement. I'm sure there will be. There always seems to be a lot of overreaction with everything. So
Yeah.
probably by
Yeah.
next week, maybe we'll see things kind of settle in one way or the other. But yeah,
For sure.
we'll do it again.
Cool. Sounds good. We'll talk soon, man.
Awesome, dude.